Should the Packers break the glass and call Za'Darius Smith? As the dust begins to settle after the initial wave of the 2025 NFL free agency period, the Green Bay Packers find themselves in a precarious position, one that may require bold action and a willingness to revisit the past. While the team's pass rush proved surprisingly effective last season, ranking 8th in the league with 45 total sacks, there's an undeniable sense that this success could be difficult to replicate without a true difference maker on the edge. Yes, defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley deserves credit for engineering creative blitz packages and maximizing the output of a relatively unsung group. Rashawn Gary was the only Packer to post more than 5 sacks, finishing with 7.5, a stat that underlines the team's reliance on scheme over star power. But creativity alone won't guarantee consistency, and the path forward for Green Bay's defense may demand more than X's and O's. So what now? Who's left on the board? The top-tier pass rushers have been scooped up. Khalil Mack re-signed with the Chargers. Josh Sweat, Joey Bosa, Dante Fowler, they're all off the market. And yet, one name remains, a name that could stir mixed emotions. Across Wisconsin, Za'Darius Smith. A familiar face with unfinished business, Smith's exit from Green Bay in 2021 was anything but amicable. After a bitter split and some choice words following a revenge-fueled win over the Packers last season, the idea of a reunion may seem far-fetched. But if the Packers are serious about contending and about maximizing the talent on their defense, it may be time to swallow some pride. Now 32, Smith is no longer the unstoppable force he once was, but make no mistake, he can still produce. Last season, split between Cleveland and Detroit, Smith notched 9 sacks. That's more than any current Packers defender managed. In fact, since leaving Green Bay, Smith has tallied 24.5 sacks over 3 seasons. That's an average of 8.5 sacks per year. The man can still play. And perhaps more importantly, Smith may now come at a price that won't handcuff the front office financially. For a franchise with playoff aspirations, that kind of value is hard to ignore. Is it risky? Sure. But in the NFL, sometimes you have to break the emergency glass. What do you think, Packers fans? Should Green Bay extend the olive branch and bring back Za'Darius Smith? Let's talk about it in the comments. Before we dive into the updated depth chart and roster moves, don't forget to like this video if you enjoy in-depth Packers coverage, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a beat. Your support helps this community grow, and it tells us you want more content like this. Roster moves raise eyebrows. Across Green Bay, with free agency in full swing, many fans expected the Packers to make a splash. After all, the team had ample cap space and several holes to fill. Instead, the front office took a reserved approach, some might say too reserved. Since the start of free agency, General Manager Brian Gutekunst has re-signed just 2 of his own, linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, 2 years, $8 million, and veteran kicker Brandon McManus, 3 years, $15.3 million. Outside additions, just 3. Aaron Banks, a powerful left guard from the 49ers, signed for a massive 4-year, $77 million deal. He's expected to start immediately, especially with Elton Jenkins sliding over to center to replace the departed Josh Myers, who joined the Jets. Nate Hobbs, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders, arrives to add depth at cornerback with a 4-year, $48 million contract. He could see significant time in the slot or on the outside, should the Packers move on from Jair Alexander. Speedster Mecole Hardman, a return specialist and gadget wide receiver, also joins the roster, though details of his contract remain under wraps, and that's it. Green Bay's total free agent signings rank dead last in the league. Meanwhile, the Packers lost 6 contributors: A.J. Dillon, Eagles; Eric Stokes, Raiders; T.J. Slayton, Bengals; Josh Myers, Jets; Eric Wilson, Vikings; and Corey Ballantyne, Colts. It's a significant talent drain, one that the team has yet to fully address. Where the roster stands now, perhaps the most notable shakeup comes along the offensive line. With Myers gone, Jenkins steps into the center role, paving the way for Banks to start at left guard. This move should bolster the line's interior strength, but it also adds pressure on banks to justify his hefty price tag from day one. At cornerback, Hobbs brings versatility, and his role may depend on Alexander's fate. If Jair stays, Hobbs likely lines up at nickel. If Jair is traded or cut, Hobbs could shift outside opposite Casey and Nixon. Hardman, meanwhile, won't crack the starting receiver rotation, but he fills a much-needed role in the return game. Nixon, after all, has made it clear he wants to focus exclusively on his responsibilities as a cornerback. As things stand, Green Bay has more questions than an